The invention of vaccination stands as a pivotal moment in human history, saving countless lives and reshaping the course of civilization. It was a breakthrough born from ancient observations and modern scientific curiosity. In the sweltering summer of 1796, a young English physician named Edward Jenner found himself at the threshold of a revolutionary discovery, one that would change the course of human history forever. The village of Berkeley, nestled in the rolling hills of Gloucestershire, England, was Jenner's home and the epicenter of his groundbreaking work. As a country doctor, Jenner had spent years observing the local population, noting the peculiarities of rural life and marveling at the resilience of the human body. It was amidst this rustic backdrop that Jenner became fascinated with the stories of local milkmaids who, despite being exposed to cowpox, a disease affecting cattle, seemed immune to smallpox, a scourge that had ravaged human populations for centuries. The milkmaid's apparent immunity sparked Jenner's curiosity, and he began to investigate the connection between cowpox and smallpox. He spent countless hours poring over medical texts, consulting with fellow physicians, and conducting experiments on the local population. Jenner's inquiry was not an isolated event, but rather part of a broader cultural and scientific landscape. The late 18th century was an era of great intellectual ferment, with the Enlightenment's emphasis on reason, empiricism, and human progress, inspiring scholars and scientists across Europe. The discovery of the microscope by Antony van Leeuwenhoek in the 17th century had revealed the hidden world of microorganisms, sparking a new wave of interest in the study of disease and the human body. As Jenner delved deeper into his research, he drew upon the work of earlier scientists, such as the English physician John Fuster, who had observed that milkmaids infected with cowpox were subsequently immune to smallpox. Fuster's findings, though anecdotal, had laid the groundwork for Jenner's more systematic investigation. The young physician's meticulous notes and observations would eventually become the foundation of his seminal work, an inquiry into the causes and effects of the variolae vaccinae, a treatise that would shake the very foundations of medical science. In the years leading up to Jenner's breakthrough, smallpox had reached epidemic proportions in Europe, claiming millions of lives and leaving countless others disfigured or blind. The disease was a constant presence, a specter that haunted urban centers and rural communities alike. Against this backdrop of suffering and fear, Jenner's quest for a solution took on an added sense of urgency. His work would not only challenge the conventional wisdom of his time, but also pave the way for a new era of medical innovation, one in which the power of immunity would be harnessed to combat some of humanity's most formidable foes. As Jenner's research gained momentum, he became increasingly convinced that the key to unlocking the secrets of smallpox lay in the milkmaid's peculiar immunity. He spent countless hours observing the local dairy workers, noting the subtle variations in their exposure to cowpox and the subsequent effects on their susceptibility to smallpox. The young physician's meticulous observations would eventually lead him to a crucial experiment, one that would change the course of medical history forever. On May 14, 1796, Jenner took a bold step, one that would test the very foundations of his hypothesis. He collected material from a cowpox lesion on the hand of Sarah Nelms, a local milkmaid who had contracted the disease while working at a nearby farm. With great care, Jenner then inoculated James Phipps, the 8-year-old son of his gardener, with the cowpox material. The boy was exposed to the disease in a controlled environment, and Jenner watched anxiously as the child's body responded to the foreign substance. The results were nothing short of remarkable. Young James developed a mild fever and a localized rash, but he did not contract smallpox. In fact, when Jenner later exposed the boy to smallpox, he found that James was completely immune to the disease. This groundbreaking experiment marked a major turning point in the development of vaccination, as it provided conclusive evidence that exposure to cowpox could confer immunity to smallpox. Jenner's pioneering work did not go unnoticed, and soon his findings were being discussed among the medical community in England. One of the key figures who took notice of Jenner's research was John Fuster, the English physician who had earlier observed the milkmaid's immunity to smallpox. Fuster's own work on the subject had laid the groundwork for Jenner's experiments, and he was eager to learn more about the young physician's discoveries. As news of Jenner's breakthrough spread, It also caught the attention of other prominent figures in the scientific community. One such individual was Joseph Priestley, the renowned English chemist who had discovered oxygen and was a key figure in the Enlightenment scientific revolution. Priestley's own work on the properties of gases and the nature of matter had contributed significantly to the development of modern chemistry, and he was keenly interested in the potential applications of Jenner's discovery. The intersection of Jenner's work with the broader scientific landscape of the late 18th century is a testament to the era's spirit of intellectual curiosity and collaboration. As scientists from various disciplines began to take notice of Jenner's research, they brought their own unique perspectives and expertise to the table, helping to refine and expand upon his findings. In the months and years that followed, Jenner continued to refine his technique, conducting further experiments and gathering more data on the effects of cowpox inoculation. His work was not without its challenges, however, as he faced skepticism and even outright opposition from some members of the medical community. Despite these obstacles, Jenner persevered, driven by his conviction that his discovery held the key to unlocking a major public health breakthrough. As the news of Jenner's discovery spread beyond England's borders, it began to attract attention from scientists and medical professionals across Europe. One such individual was the French physician Louis Pasteur, who would later become a pioneering figure in the development of modern vaccines. Although Pasteur's own work on vaccination would not begin until several decades later, he was deeply influenced by Jenner's discoveries, and his own research would ultimately build upon the foundations laid by the English physician. As Louis Pasteur delved deeper into the world of vaccination, he became increasingly fascinated by the work of Edward Jenner and the potential for vaccines to revolutionize public health. Although it would be several decades before Pasteur's own groundbreaking research on vaccination, his early interest in the subject was sparked by the pioneering work of Jenner and others. In the meantime, Jenner's discovery continued to gain traction across Europe, with many scientists and medical professionals eager to learn more about the English physician's innovative approach to preventing smallpox. One such individual was the Italian physician Giuseppe Saverio Rondinelli, who had been conducting his own research on smallpox and the potential for inoculation. In 1800, Rondinelli traveled to England, where he met with Jenner and learned more about his work on cowpox inoculation. Rondinelli was deeply impressed by Jenner's findings and recognized the enormous potential for vaccination to improve public health in Italy. Upon his return to Italy, Rondinelli began conducting his own experiments with cowpox inoculation, using Jenner's techniques to develop a vaccine that could be used to protect the Italian population from smallpox. As news of Jenner's discovery continued to spread, it also reached the attention of the Russian Empire, where smallpox was a major public health concern. In 1801, the Russian government invited Jenner to visit St. Petersburg and share his knowledge with Russian physicians. Although Jenner declined the invitation due to poor health, he did provide detailed instructions on how to prepare and administer the vaccine, which were then used by Russian doctors to develop their own vaccination programs. Meanwhile, in England, Jenner's work was being recognized and celebrated by the medical community. In 1802, he was awarded a grant of £10,000 by the British government to continue his research on vaccination and to establish a vaccination clinic in London. The clinic, which was located at 14 Berkeley Square, became a center for vaccine production and distribution, providing inoculations to thousands of people and helping to establish vaccination as a widely accepted medical practice. As the years passed, Jenner's discovery continued to have a profound impact on public health, not only in England, but also around the world. The development of vaccination marked a major turning point in the fight against infectious diseases, and it paved the way for future breakthroughs in immunology and vaccine research. In 1806, the Royal College of Physicians awarded Jenner the prestigious Copley Medal, recognizing his outstanding contributions to the field of medicine and his role as a pioneer in the development of vaccination. The widespread adoption of vaccination also led to the establishment of new organizations and institutions dedicated to promoting public health and preventing infectious diseases. One such organization was the National Vaccine Establishment, which was founded in 1809 with the goal of providing free vaccinations to the poor and promoting vaccine research and development. The establishment of this organization marked an important milestone in the history of vaccination, as it recognized the critical role that vaccines could play in protecting public health and preventing the spread of infectious diseases. As the national vaccine establishment began its work, it faced numerous challenges, including the need to develop more effective methods for producing and distributing vaccines. At the time, vaccines were typically produced by infecting cows with cowpox and then harvesting the material from the resulting lesions. This process was often cumbersome and unreliable, leading to variability in vaccine quality and effectiveness. To address these challenges, the National Vaccine Establishment established a network of vaccine production centers across England, where trained staff could produce high-quality vaccines using standardized techniques. The work of the National Vaccine Establishment also helped to promote greater awareness and understanding of vaccination among the general public. Through a combination of education and outreach efforts, the establishment aimed to dispel common myths and misconceptions about vaccination and to encourage more people to take advantage of this life-saving technology. As vaccination became more widely accepted, it began to have a profound impact on public health, leading to significant reductions in smallpox incidence and mortality rates across England. The success of vaccination in controlling smallpox also sparked interest in the potential for vaccines to prevent other infectious diseases. In the early 19th century, scientists such as Louis Pasteur and Robert Koch began exploring the possibility of developing vaccines against diseases like anthrax, rabies, and tuberculosis. Although these efforts would take many years to bear fruit, they marked an important turning point in the history of vaccine research, as scientists began to recognize the enormous potential for vaccines to improve public health and prevent infectious diseases. As the 19th century progressed, vaccination continued to evolve and improve, with new technologies and techniques being developed to enhance vaccine safety, efficacy, and availability. The discovery of germs and the germ theory of disease, which emerged in the mid-19th century, provided a major boost to vaccine research, as scientists gained a deeper understanding of the underlying causes of infectious diseases and the mechanisms by which vaccines could prevent them. One of the key figures who contributed to this growing understanding was the German physician Robert Koch, who developed a set of criteria known as Koch's postulates for establishing a causal relationship between a microbe and a disease. Koch's work laid the foundation for modern vaccine research, as scientists began to use his postulates to identify the specific microbes responsible for different infectious diseases and to develop targeted vaccines against them. The late 19th century also saw significant advances in vaccine production technology, including the development of new methods for growing and harvesting microorganisms. The introduction of sterile techniques, which allowed scientists to produce vaccines in a controlled and contamination-free environment, marked an important milestone in the history of vaccine manufacturing. This innovation enabled the mass production of high-quality vaccines, making it possible to immunize large populations against infectious diseases. As vaccination continued to expand its reach, it also became increasingly recognized as a critical tool for promoting global health security. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, international organizations such as the Red Cross and the League of Nations began to play a major role in promoting vaccine research, development, and distribution around the world. These efforts helped to establish vaccination as a cornerstone of modern public health policy, with vaccines being used to prevent not only smallpox but also other infectious diseases like diphtheria, tetanus, and pertussis. The establishment of vaccination as a cornerstone of modern public health policy led to a significant expansion of vaccine research and development in the early 20th century. One of the key figures driving this effort was the American scientist Jonas Salk, who developed the first inactivated poliovirus vaccine in the 1950s. Salk's work built on the earlier discoveries of scientists like Carl Landsteiner, who had identified the poliovirus as the causative agent of poliomyelitis, and Thomas Rivers, who had developed a method for growing the virus in tissue culture. The introduction of Salk's vaccine led to a dramatic decline in polio cases worldwide, and it paved the way for the development of other vaccines against diseases like measles, mumps, and rubella. The work of scientists like John Enders, who developed the first measles vaccine, and Maurice Hilleman, who developed vaccines against hepatitis A and B, further expanded the range of infectious diseases that could be prevented through vaccination. In the 1950s and 1960s, international efforts to promote vaccination and eradicate infectious diseases gained momentum. The World Health Organization, established in 1948, played a key role in coordinating global vaccine distribution and immunization campaigns. One of the WHO's most notable achievements was the Global Smallpox Eradication Campaign, which was launched in 1959 and resulted in the complete elimination of smallpox from the planet by 1980. The success of the Smallpox Eradication Campaign demonstrated the power of vaccination as a tool for preventing infectious diseases and inspired further efforts to develop vaccines against other major killers like tuberculosis, malaria, and HIV. In the 1970s and 1980s, scientists like Roy Anderson and Robert May made significant contributions to our understanding of the epidemiology of infectious diseases, which in turn informed the development of more effective vaccine strategies. The advent of genetic engineering and molecular biology techniques in the 1980s and 1990s opened up new possibilities for vaccine development. Scientists like Stanley Plotkin, who developed a vaccine against rotavirus, and Paul Offit, who developed a vaccine against human papillomavirus, used these technologies to create novel vaccines that could prevent diseases that had previously been difficult or impossible to control. In the 21st century, vaccination continues to play a critical role in promoting global health security. The WHO and other international organizations have launched initiatives to improve vaccine access and equity, particularly in low- and middle-income countries where infectious diseases remain major public health threats. Efforts like the Global Alliance for Vaccines and Immunization, GAVI, and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation's vaccine program have helped to increase vaccine coverage and reduce disease incidence worldwide. Today, scientists are working on developing vaccines against some of the most pressing global health challenges, including Ebola, Zika, and COVID-19. The rapid development and deployment of COVID-19 vaccines in 2020 and 2021 marked a major milestone in the history of vaccination, demonstrating the power of international collaboration and cutting-edge technology to respond to emerging public health threats. As vaccine research continues to evolve, it is likely that new technologies like mRNA-based vaccines and viral vector-based vaccines will play an increasingly important role in shaping the future of infectious disease prevention. The impact of vaccination is a testament to human ingenuity, perseverance, and the unwavering pursuit of a healthier world. Thank you for joining me throughout this historical journey. That's all for today's History with Herodotus. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, remember that, to understand the present, we must first understand the past.